Good morning, everybody. Matt Moda here to give you my favorite MLB home run predictions of the day. We are talking Tuesday, April 29th. The Dong Report is back in your life. I'm going to have 4 MLB home run picks for you guys to lock in for today's MLB betting slate. Very confident in the 4 guys that I have for today. I had been going a little bit chalker recently. Definitely not the case today. I have 4 plays. They're all plus 500 or greater. So I tried to not go quite as chalky with my plays as I had normally been doing. But before we can get into those picks, we do have to do a recap from yesterday, which was another tough one. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a rough stretch on the Dong Report. Basically, I think since Wednesday, I think was the last. We had an okay day on Saturday, but it's just been rough. That's all I really need to say. It's been a little bit rough. That continued yesterday. Ohtani, he got walked 3 times. Unfortunately, he was facing a pitcher that sometimes struggles with control, so that's going to happen. And then Jordan Beck, we're going to talk about him in more detail. He hit 3 absolute rockets. He had 2 doubles in that game. Just couldn't quite get any to leave the fence. And then I don't even think Jake Berger got close. That one just ended up being a tough break. Not a tough break, a bad bet is really what it was. So didn't get any to cash yesterday. Down a little bit less than a unit, 0.9 units. Luckily, we're still having a phenomenal season overall, up over 9 units on the year. I risk 1 unit per day at most on these on the Dong Report. So when we have a situation where we're up 9 units, we have to have 9 straight days of not getting a single guy to cash, which I don't think that's going to happen. I think eventually we're going to break out of this. It's actually a pretty juicy day from a weather perspective, 4 home runs, which we're going to talk about. The most important thing here is this ROI, up 30 units on the year. I am tracking this profit by my unit size guiding, which for yesterday was like 1/3 of a unit, 0.35, 1/4 unit, all that stuff. If you're a heathen, and I know people do this, and it's just easiest for people to recognize like blanket unit sizes, which is why I give out this number as well. If you just put 1 unit on every single home run pick, you didn't care about my unit sizing, you didn't want to mess with that, you just want to put 1 unit on every single home run, you'd be up over 30, you'd be up about 40 units, just under 40 units. So again, the most important thing here is this ROI, 30% is really good. Obviously, we're hoping to have more success than not getting any yesterday and having the rough stretch that we had, like Thursday and Friday, we didn't get any either. I think we got 1 on Wednesday and we got 1 on Saturday, and that's basically all it has been. So let's hope we can turn things around. Just make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe. What I have up on the screen here is Ballpark Pal, my favorite MLB tool. I use them for home runs, but you can use them for strikeouts, bases, basically anything you want to do. You can use Ballpark Pal. Right now, I'm putting on my Weatherman cap. Incredibly juicy slate from a weather perspective. You see a lot of games here in the green. Now, unfortunately, I had trouble finding plays in all of these games in the green. I don't want to force it. I think that's one thing, and we could take a little bit of a step back. One thing that one of my weaknesses is I fall in love with these good weather games, but the guy still needs to hit the ball hard. So the most important thing here needs to be the batter hitting the ball hard. And then if that comes in a good weather game, that's perfect. Another issue with today is a lot of these games have rain issues, like the ones highlighted in this like little pinkish color, purplish color, depending on how it comes through on your screen. These are games that might get rained out. So some good weather games have no issues with rain. Some of them do. But regardless, generally a good day overall. I think there's only 1 game in the red, and I don't have anything in that game. So generally a good day overall. And we can get right into it. So the first play, I already hinted at it. I'm going right back to Jordan Beck, taking him to hit a home run. Now, this is not a play that Ballpark Pal is going to be super high on. The best offered price on Beck is plus 525 odds at Bet365. That's the price that I locked in. You're still able to get it at that price, so no issues there. Situations like this with a young hitter, I'm not super scared off of Ballpark Pal not being super high on him. Like if you look at the matchup, it's question marks across the board. It's question marks pretty much across the board. And we see this like D- for Jordan Beck. It's taking into a lot of historical information, which it should. Like that's smart. But for a young hitter like Jordan Beck, who's been on fire recently, I put a lot more weight towards what's been going on recently. And if you just look at the last week, the last 7 days, Jordan Beck is one of, if not the hottest hitter in baseball. And I'm going to show you a bunch of sources to prove that. So I'm looking at FanGraphs here, and I'm looking at, this is about right. I'm looking at just total barrels over the last 7 days. And you can see here, each website is going to have a little bit of a different definition for what a barrel is. FanGraphs defines it as comparable hit types in terms of exit velocity and launch angle that should have a minimum batting average of 500 and a 15 slugging percentage. Basically, the ball's hit hard and put in the air is all I really need to know for a barrel. Look who's number 1 in the MLB over the last 7 days. That would be one Jordan Beck. I'm looking at a website called Game Day Insights, which is a website that I do look at a lot for pitch mix stuff, for hot batters and stuff like that. Hopefully this chart is big enough for you to see. And I'm just filtering it or sorting it by the last 7 days, players with the most hard hit line drive plus fly balls, similar to a barrel, but a little bit more encompassing. Look who is number 2. Tied for 3rd with 9 over the last 7 games. That would be one Jordan Beck. You look at balls launched, which is 100 plus miles an hour off the bat in between a 20 and 40 degree launch angle. Look who's number 1, Jordan Beck with 6. So you look at him recently, like he had a ridiculous stretch where he hit 5 home runs in 3 games. Even recently, he's had a barrel in 7 barrels in this last 6 games, which I already showed you. Yesterday was the only game in this stretch where he did not have a barrel. He had 3 hard hits in that game. And you look at his exit velocity, 105 miles per hour off the bat, 17 degree launch angle. Just a little higher, that ball's out of the park. 105 miles an hour off the bat, 14 degree launch angle. Same thing. Just a little bit higher, and that ball's out of the park. And then he had another one, a double that was 96 miles an hour off the bat. This wasn't really fast enough or a high enough launch angle to be a home run, but he still hit the ball very, very hard. And it was considered a hard hit. That's the most important thing. And Jordan Beck historically is much, much worse against right-handed pitching, right? If you look at, that's what Ballpark Pal says. Jordan Beck is worse versus right-handed pitching. You look at him recently. So I'm going back to this website, Game Day Insights, and I'm just looking at, all right, who has the most hard hits specifically against right-handed pitching over the last 7 days? So we're looking at balls launched. We're looking at, hard hit line drive and fly balls. Guess who Jordan Beck has 6? So 6 of his 9 are against right-handed pitching. 3 of his balls launched were against right-handed pitching. Yeah, that's going to be in a higher sample size, but you still look at his stats across the board. 94.8 miles per hour exit velocity. So like his average hit off the bat is about a hard hit. ISO rate, high. WOBA, high. Average, high. Everything is good still against right-handed pitching. So I don't really have any issues with him against righties at all. So that's play number 1, Jordan Beck. And the pitcher is going up against. Sorry, that's my last point. AJ Smith-Shawver. It's not confirmed. Like some, like Ballpark Pal has him as the starter. AJ Smith-Shawver. The books don't have it confirmed yet, but I believe this is who's going to be starting for the Braves. And this guy is not a good pitcher. You look at him this year, home run per 9, 1.32 is very, very bad. You look at his advanced stats, barrel rate of 15% is terrible. Launch angles high, 14.5 degree launch angle. Hard hit rate, 40% isn't the worst, but it's definitely not good. And fly ball plus line drive rate of about 65%, which is really good. 2/3 of the time, the ball is being put in the air against him. And even against righties and lefties, he's like equally as bad. 1 home run against lefties, 1 home run against righties. Granted, he's seen a lot more lefties, so that home run against a righty is in a much smaller sample size, but he's just not a good pitcher. So it's not a matchup that I'm scared off of. So the guy's been red hot at the plate. He's hitting the crap out of the baseball. I'm going to bet on that continuing. That is play number 1, Jordan Beck. Play number 2 is a guy that we went with a lot at the beginning of the year, Jackson Cheerio. Have been off of him a little bit, but he's been hot. So we're going back to him, Jackson Cheerio, to hit a home run. He is also best offered at plus 550 at Bet365. So best odds on most of these are going to be at Bet365. So Jackson Cheerio at the beginning of the year was on the Dawn Report, I think in 2 or 3 straight days. He'd had a cold stretch that I believe he is coming out of. So I think that he's been pretty good recently. You look at his last, we're looking at his last couple games here. So yeah, he had this rough stretch like 0-0. 2 isn't bad, but then like 0-0-0. You see what I mean? But then we go back his last 3 games. That's what we're looking at here. 2 hard hits his last game, which was Sunday. 4 hard hits on Saturday, and one of those was a home run. So we see the home run right here. And then he had 2 on Friday. So that's 3 games in which he's had a combined 8 hard hits. Now only 1 barrel in that stretch, but that launch angle and fly ball rate is pretty high. So I'm not scared off of the 1 barrel because he is putting the ball in the air. Like obviously in a 3-game sample size, these numbers are going to be a little bit wonky, but like 25% fly ball rate plus line drive rate, 20%. Like, you see what I mean? Like, he's still putting the ball in the air. He's not only hitting ground balls, which is what I'm trying to say here. So the guy that's hot at the plate, this is a positive game from a weather perspective. It's a plus 4. So slightly positive, but still positive. And so is the one at Coors, I should say as well. The first game that we locked in, plus 3%. plus 4%, so slightly positive in the green. The biggest thing here is the pitcher he's going up against, Bryce Wilson, is an awful pitcher. Now, he's not a traditional flamethrower, which those guys are normally the biggest home run guys as well. He throws a lot of off-speed stuff. The good news is Jackson Cheerio crushes off-speed stuff, but this guy, Bryce Wilson, is not good. I mean, you look at his stats across the board, you see a lot of red. ISO rate, 400, allowed. That's disgustingly bad. Home run per nine against righties, 3.33. That's disgustingly bad. Barrel rate, 14%, bad. Hard hit rate, 53%, bad. Fly ball plus line drive rate, like 55%, bad. All these numbers are terrible. And Jackson Cheerio is actually better against righties than he is against lefties, which is not you would expect from a right-handed hitter. But the righty versus righty matchup is actually better for him. From a release perspective, B in terms of horizontal, but A vertically. It's not quite an extreme, but a pretty big advantage. I mean, +9, +10 is the biggest that ballpark pal goes. +9 is pretty good. It's an A matchup for Jackson Cheerio, and you see why when you go down the board. Like, you see his pitch mix is different overall than it is specifically against righties. It's more sinker, which is good. It's more of the off-speed stuff, which Jackson Cheerio has a lot of success against. Bryce Wilson, 1.3%, more likely to allow a home run than the average pitcher. Exit velocity is high. Launch angle is going to be the scariest thing for him, but it's still, I mean, like, this line drive rate is really high for Bryce Wilson. So I think there's a lot of reasons to like Jackson Cheerio in this matchup. We go back to the hard hit, line drive, plus fly ball stat. Now, I mentioned Jordan Beck was among the league leaders with 9. Jackson Cheerio is not far behind him with 7. So he's got 8 hard hits over the last 3 games. 7 of those were put in the air. So showing you a hot batter. That is play number 2. Jackson Cheerio to hit a home run, plus 550. Next up, I'm going with a guy you've probably never heard of, but I really, really like this one. Augustin, I hope that I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Augustin Ramirez. I'm taking him to hit a home run. He's so new that Ballpark Pal doesn't even have him on here. If you look at Ramirez, he's not even on the list. But I can look up the batter versus pitcher stuff. Obviously, he's played not that many MLB games, so it's going to be a tiny sample size for him. The pitcher is going up against Matt Sauer. This is also not confirmed, but that's who's listed, I think, on RotoWire is this guy. He's being called up from AAA. Hasn't really spent a ton of time really at all in the majors. He's pitched like 1.3 innings this year, so might end up being a bullpen game. This is more backing the batter than anything regarding the pitcher. But I really like this one with Augustin Ramirez. The best offer price here is actually on Flip, so this isn't loading. Yeah, I got to go to my account. This was loaded, now it's being really slow. My Tails account is just where I send everything out, but he's best offered on Flip at plus 590. If you don't use Flip, it's plus 540, I believe, is the best offered price on him. But I can check. We just look right here. No, that's not it. It is, yeah, 550 at DraftKings is the best offered price on Augustin Ramirez. Here we go. Sent out from my Tails account. So anyways, if you don't know who this guy is, he's a young catcher. He was just called up a couple days ago. The guy's just been hitting nuke after nuke. So you look at his last 6 games, which is not that big of a sample size, but that's when he was called up. They're batting him cleanup, which I love. His first game was 6, but then 4th, 3rd, 4th. 4 barrels since he's been called up in 6 games is really good. Hard hit rate, 52% since he's been called up, really good. And he's been consistently putting the ball in the air, 15-degree launch angle. So since he's been called up, he's only hit 2 home runs. Now he hit them in the same, 3 home runs. He hit 2 of them in the same game on Sunday, but he's only had 1 game without multiple hard hits. It was his first game, and he had a barrel in that game as well. Every other game he's had 2. And you just go back to his logs. I love the fact that he's hitting the ball hard and he's putting the ball in the air, the 2 most important things for a home run. So you look at yesterday, hardest hit of the game, a line out, 112 miles an hour off the bat. Absolutely insane. A little bit too low degree launch angle. That's why you didn't see him have any barrels yesterday. Actually, no, I guess they did consider that a barrel based on how hard it was hit. Just needed a little bit of a higher launch angle to be a home run. Still traveled 327 feet. Then he had another one, 108 miles an hour off the bat. Now this one, negative launch angle, was never going to amount to anything, but 2 hits, 108 and 112, that's really good. And then we go back to Sunday when he hit 2 home runs. We look at his exit velocity logs. If I can find this Marlins game. I mentioned he hit 2 home runs. So obviously it's going to look good. 108 miles an hour off the bat, 27-degree launch angle, traveled 421 feet. Absolute no doubter. No chance this wasn't a home run. Another at bat, 105 miles an hour off the bat, traveled 404 feet. Not quite a no-doubter, but a home run in 19 of 30 stadiums. That's what he did on Sunday. Both times he got a hold of the ball, he had an absolute rocket. And that's his last 4 hits, 105, 105, 108, 105. Insane what he's been doing at the plate. And then I'll go back to Saturday, and then I'll shut up about his exit velocity logs. I just want to show you how good this guy has been. And then we look at Saturday. There we go. We're looking at, again, this is, I guess I should have mentioned, this is Baseball Savant. This is where I look at EV logs mostly. Not quite the same level of extent, but a flyout and a flyout. So not quite as hard as you want the baseball to be, but the fact that he's hitting the ball hard and putting it in the air, 35, 31 degree launch angle, that's perfectly in the sweet spot. That's fantastic. That's exactly what we're looking for. We go back to this hot hitters sheet. We look at guys with 8 hard hit plus line drives over the last week. That would be Agustin Ramirez. He has 8. He's got 2 piss missiles. He's been hitting the ball incredibly hard, only 1 behind Jordan Beck. So that's play number 3. Again, plus 590 at Flip, 550 at DraftKings. And then our 4th and final pick of the video is also the juiciest in terms of odds. Pete Crow Armstrong. I'm taking him to hit a home run. He is at plus 900 at ESPN Bet. There we go. Pete Crow Armstrong plus 900 at ESPN Bet. I put a quarter unit on all of these bad boys. So just blanketly quarter unit across the board. I just think this one is mispriced, and I understand why. Now, this game is one of them that's juicy from a weather perspective. Actually, no, it's okay. It's still positive. But it is one of the games that possibly might get rained out. So we see that it might rain in Pittsburgh. All these games in the Midwest, it might not quite Midwest, but you know what I mean. It might rain a little bit. So if it gets rained out, we just get our play refunded. No issues there. If it does get played, I love Pete Crow Armstrong. Now, the reason why he's priced the way he is because he's going up against a lefty. And if you look, Pete Crow Armstrong is much worse versus left-handed pitching. If you look at his entire career, that is true. If you look at how he has performed recently, he's been better against lefties. So we're just looking at, again, it's a small sample size. We're looking at Pete Crow Armstrong over the last 2 weeks, which is when he's been really hot. Over the last 2 weeks, again, it's not a ton of at-bats. It's only 9, but 11% barrel rate, 50% hard hit rate. And the most important thing here is he's putting the ball in the air, 66% fly ball rate. So 2/3 of the time, even if he's getting an out, he's putting the ball in the air. And in general, not even looking at lefty versus lefty, Pete Crow Armstrong is incredibly hot at the plate. And it's another young guy, 23 years old. So yeah, he doesn't have a lot of data. Last year, he couldn't hit a lefty to save his life, but it's a young batter who is just kind of making strides in his career and playing better. And you look at his game log. So this is his last 12 games or so since April 13th. 9 barrels, 24% barrel rate is awesome. 48% hard hit rate isn't amazing, but it's still good. 18 hard hits in that stretch. He's coming off of a game which he just had 3 hard hits against the Phillies. He had 2 barrels in that game as well. And then, yeah, he had 2 gross games prior to that, but then 4 hard hits, 1 barrel. 2 hard hits, 1 barrel. Gross game. We can accept that a little bit. But showing a guy that's been hitting the ball really hard, if you go to the hot hitter sheet, guess who is at number 8? Or excuse me, guess who has 8 hard hits over the last 7 days? That would be one Pete Crow Armstrong. 8 hard hit, line drive, plus fly balls. 4 balls launched, so 4 piss missiles in that stretch as well is very, very good. And another reason why this is priced the way it is because Andrew Heaney is pitching, who hasn't given up a home run to a left-handed hitter yet this year. So it sounds like this is a terrible matchup. Why would you want to bet this one? But his numbers aren't really that scary. Like a hard hit rate of just below 50%, that's not scary. Line drive plus fly ball rate of above 50% isn't amazing, but it's not scary. So I think this is a guy that's going to start allowing home runs to left-handed hitters. And over the last 2 weeks, if you look at his pitch mix, so I'm just looking at 4-seam fastballs, changeup, curveball, sinker, slider. That's everything that he throws a left-handed hitter. Obviously, the fastball and the sinker are going to be the most predominant ones, but to get an ample sample size, those 5 pitches, Pete Crow Armstrong, 15% barrel rate, just below 14.29, 60% hard hit rate, 60% fly ball rate. And you look at what he's done in this stretch. Again, 7 of his 9 at-bats are against this pitch mix, but 100 miles an hour off the bat, 101.7, 41 degree launch angle, just needed to get a little bit under that, or over that a little, under that a little bit more. Yeah, whatever. Lower launch angle. That's what I'm looking for. And that ball's a home run. 106.3 was a home run, traveled 370 feet. And that's what he's done recently against this pitch mix from lefties. So plus 900, I think is just crazy for Pete Crow Armstrong to hit a home run. So I gladly took advantage of it. I'm not scared off of this, like much worse. I'm not scared off of the pitcher. And I'm playing the price. I wouldn't play this at plus 400, but at plus 900, yeah, I think it's a hit. So those are my 4 official bangers for today. Really juicy in terms of odds. We got a plus 590, we got a plus 900, a plus 525, and a plus 550. Augustin Ramirez, Pete Crow Armstrong, Jordan Beck, and Jackson Cheerio. If all 4 of these guys hit a home run, we're profiting 6 units on the day. And if you end up putting a parlay of all 4, you're profiting a lot more. But we only need 1 of these guys to hit a home run to have a day in the green. So let's hope for that. That's all we got. In terms of leans, there's a lot of juicy plays here in this Reds versus Cardinals game. My issue is that none of these guys are really hitting the ball that hard, so I don't want to bet it just because of that. On the Reds, if I were to bet anybody, it would be Matt McLain. He's hitting the ball decently hard, and he's putting the ball in the air. He's just kind of snake bitten, hasn't been able to get one to clear the fence. And then on the Cardinal side, it would be Lars Nootbaar if I were playing anybody on the Cardinals. I think he's a pretty good one. He's putting the ball in the air at the highest rate on the Cardinals. A couple other guys that I looked at. I cut Tucker in the same game as Pete Crow Armstrong isn't terrible. He's plus 430. I just felt like Pete Crow Armstrong's been better against lefties, and we're getting plus 900 versus plus 430, and still the lefty versus lefty concern with Tucker. But yeah, not a ton in terms of bleeds, just these main 4 that I'm going with. And that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out my Tails account where I send all my bets out I send all my bets out early if you're interested in locking stuff in before the odds change. Here's everything that I sent out today. It's only these 4 plays. And then check out Ballpark Pal. I put a link in the description of the video. If you want 10% off for the month or 15% off for the year, you can. But thanks for watching, and make sure to bet responsibly and have a good one.